This interview is being held on May 7th, 2018 in Cleburne, Texas. I am Penny Galt, and I'm a member of Mary Asham Keith Chapter, National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I will be interviewing Robert Stewart. Also in attendance is Laura Tazel. Okay, Robert, let's just start with a little background information. Where were you born?
Corpus Christi, Texas.
And when?
May the 6th, 1925.
Okay. What was your father's full name?
Milton Anderson Stewart.
What did he do for a living?
What did he
Do
do?
for a living,
He worked at General Dynamics.
Oh, okay. And what was your mother's full name?
Can't her maiden name? Catherine Haley Stewart.
Okay. Did she work outside of the home?
No.
She was just a housekeeper
Yeah.
and mother. Full-time job. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
No.
Okay. Were you or are you married?
My wife died.
Okay, so you were married. What was your wife's name?
What was what?
What was your wife's name?
Beth
And her maiden name?
Bakewell.
Okay, Beth Bakewell Stewart.
Yeah.
Then, did you have any children?
I had one stepson,
Okay, and what was his name?
George.
George, okay. Did he serve in the military?
No.
Okay. Before you went into the service, what were you doing?
I was working for Lawrence Leyland here in Cleburne.
Okay, and what kind of work is that?
He had a grocery store down on Henderson Street, and I worked for him down there, delivering. You know, women used to call in, older women would call in and order things, and I would fill their boxes, and I'd take Lawrence's car and go around and deliver.
Oh, that was nice.
Deliver groceries to them.
Well, that was nice. That's kind of coming back in now. Now you can have groceries delivered again. So they're kind of swinging back around, going full circle. What branch of the military were you in?
Marines.
The Marines. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't know. I was, when I turned 18, I was called up, but I was registered, with the draft board, and I was called up, and then they asked if I wanted to volunteer or wanted to wait our turn, and I volunteered.
Oh, okay. So you knew you were going to go in.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time, and you decided just to go ahead.
I just went ahead.
Right. And so by enlisting, you got to choose which branch you went into? Did you get to choose the Marines, or did they assign you to that?
No, I got to choose what I went in.
Right. What made you choose the Marines?
Well, it's kind of funny. Do you know Carl Chafin?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
He owned Chafin Cafe here. He and I were going in together, and we had decided we were going to stay together. Well, when we went up there, because his name was Chafin, of course he came up earlier than I did, so that we said, well, we'll stay together, we'll go over to Camp Walter, Mineral Wells. Well, we got up there, he was ahead of me, and he got up there and said, do you have any choice of service? He said, Navy. Hey, son of a gun, we were going to stay together. You're saying Navy? So when I got up there, I said Marines. He didn't make the Navy, but I did the Marines. I wish I'd said
Stay with the Navy.
Navy or something else too. But I made the Marines and he didn't. He was colorblind.
Do you remember the date that you were inducted? You remember what year? What year was it?
Well,
Were you 18?
Yeah, 1943.
43, right.
Yeah, I think, now, I think this, I'm not sure, but I think it's September the 20th,
Okay,
1943.
okay,
Couldn't swear to that
right.
day.
That's fine. Okay, starting from the day you left home to go into the military, tell me about your military service.
Well, of course, I went to San Diego, and that's where I went to boot camp.
How did you get to San Diego?
Huh?
How did you get to San Diego?
Train.
Had you ridden a train before?
Yeah.
So it was not, was it a troop train or was it just a regular
Just a
regular
train.
passing train? Okay, so you went to San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went to boot camp there. I want to say 13 weeks. I'm not sure. Boot camp varied. I don't know whether you know that or not, but it varied depending on how many troops they needed. If they needed a lot of troops, the boot camp was 7 weeks. If they didn't need any troops, it was 13 weeks. You know, it kind of depended on. But anyway, I went there.
Okay.
Okay. From there, I went to Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California, and I went to the 42nd Replacement Draft, which was a place where all Marines went, and they were sent from there to where they were going. I was supposed to go overseas several times, but for some reason, I either got knocked off the list or something, so I stayed in Pendleton for about a year before I went overseas. And if I had, I would have been on some earlier battles and things, but since they'd come in and knock me off the list, so I stayed in Pendleton a year before I went overseas. And then I went to 42nd Replacement Draft, and they started organizing the 5th Marine Division, and I went to the 5th Marine Division.
Okay. And that was in California?
In Camp Pendleton, California.
Okay. Then were you ever sent? Tell me about your boot camp.
About what?
Your boot camp. What was that like?
Well, not much. Just a lot of calisthenics.
Right.
Calisthenics and training in how to use your weapon, and we went to. I can't remember how many weeks we went, but we went 7 weeks to rifle range, learn how to shoot, and then we came back to San Diego. Then went up to Camp Pendleton in a replacement draft, and if I had gone like I was supposed to, I would have probably wound up in the 4th Marine Division. But the thing about it, for some reason, I got knocked off the list. You know, they come in the night before, and we're knocking 20 names off the list. Well, me being Stewart, I'm down at the bottom of the list, so I got knocked off, and they were. They sent me over to try me out, see if I could shoot an anti-aircraft gun. They sent me over to learn how to drive a truck. I could drive a truck up to 2.5-ton truck, and they sent me to different schools around. I learned to drive a duck.
What's a duck?
Amphibious truck.
Oh, a truck that can go down in the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I volunteered for just about everything I could because, I didn't have any education except high school, and I figured, well, I'm going to get as much experience as I could So I volunteered for just about everything.
Right.
Come up.
Okay, you were stayed in Camp Pendleton for like a year, you said. You were there.
Yeah.
Then did you finally get sent overseas?
Yeah, to Hawaii.
To Hawaii. And you traveled by ship?
Yeah.
Had you ever been on a ship like that before?
No.
Tell me about your journey. What was it like being on a ship for the first time like that?
It was all right, but it was. I had been on a ship before, because I lived in Corpus Christi, but I hadn't been on a troop carrier, you know, with maybe 1,500 men, or
Right.
and it wasn't with our bed racks were, you know, we had our beds were like a pipe structure with canvas stretched across it with rope, you know, and it was about 6 or 8 foot tall.
Oh my gosh. So you had close quarters.
Oh yeah, yeah. And but anyway, I went to Hawaii, a little town over there called Kimioela was where our camp was. It was the old 2nd Marine Division camp.
Okay.
Is where it was, but it was on the Big Island of Hawaii. If you're not familiar with that.
No, I've only seen it in the news lately because they're having a volcano erupt over there on the Big on the Big Island. Is that the one that has all the volcanoes on it? The Big Island? Okay, so that's where you were, was on the Big Island?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a little town called Kimioela,
Okay.
about 60 miles from Hilo.
Okay. And what did you do there?
Trained for field artillery.
Okay. Were you going to be shipped somewhere? Were you going to be sent somewhere?
Was there going to be what?
Were they going to send you somewhere else?
No.
You just stayed there?
I stayed there in a tent camp and trained. All we did was got up in the morning, did our calisthenics, and then we had, you know, instructions and everything about artillery, and then we went out and did, practiced, you know, firing the guns.
Okay. Were you ever sent anywhere else other than just on Hawaii, or did you serve your entire military service on Hawaii?
No, I was in Hawaii, and then I went to Iwo Jima.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. You went by troop carrier to Iwo Jima?
Yeah.
So were you there for the Battle of Iwo Jima?
Yes.
Okay, do you mind talking about that?
Well, Iwo Jima was a small island over there, and it had about 23,000 Japanese on it. And we thought it was going to take about 5 days. It took 35 days. We landed 5th Marine Division, 4th Marine Division, and the 3rd Marine Division. We thought we were going to take it in about 5 days. It took 35 days and about 70,000 Marines. And the reason we wanted it was, you see, our Air Force was flying from Saipan to bomb Japan. That was 1,500 miles. Okay, Iwo Jima was about 750 miles, about halfway. So some of our bombers, if they got shot up in Japan, they couldn't make it back to Saipan. But 750 miles, they could land there because Iwo had some landing fields. So that was our step to going to Japan. And then from there, of course, I went to Japan.
Okay, so you were there for the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Yes, ma'am.
You arrived by ship. They sent you by ship?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on those landing, those that we see in the films and in the movies where it lowers down and then all the men come out in the water?
I was on an LST.
Okay.
You know what? That's a landing ship tank.
Okay, I didn't know what that was. Okay.
You go in, it would carry about 22 tanks, but we didn't always have tanks in there. Sometimes we had trucks, whatever it is, but it was, the belly would open up and you'd just drive right out on the beach.
Mm-hmm. And so, but were you on a tank? Did you drive out on the beach or did you have to go by foot?
No, I was in a truck.
You were in a truck?
Because I was in field artillery.
Right, right. When you landed, were you fired on? Did the Japanese fire on you when you came ashore?
Not till after we got ashore.
Okay.
We weren't fired on. We weren't fired on going up the beach, but once we got in position, of course, you got to remember something. Ewo was only 2 miles wide and 4 miles long. Mm-hmm. Our guns would fire 7 miles. Mm. So we set up one place we could hit anything on the island. And we set up, there was a little hill about 500 feet on one end called Suribachi. And the Japanese had that, and they could stay up on that hill and see everything we were doing. Oh. And so they could direct their fire towards us. But, knock on wood, we didn't have any heavy casualties.
That's good.
I was in a 105 howitzer unit, 13th Marines.
Okay. So were you on Iwo Jima for the full 35 days, or did you get there? So you came with the original landing
Yeah,
crew,
I went there the original day and was there the full 35 days.
So you saw combat on that island while you were there?
Yes.
Right. Were you entrenched? I mean, not entrenched, I don't know what the word is, but did you have a camp set up on the island? Was it like a jungle? What was it like?
Iwo was a volcanic island.
Okay.
It was nothing there but black volcanic sand on the whole island. Now up on the northern end, there were some cliffs up there. Because when we went ashore, they had heard that how terrible the Marines were, and a lot of civilian people went up there and jumped off those cliffs and threw their children off those cliffs and committed suicide.
Because they thought y'all were just going to be
vicious and brutalize them and torture them and things like that. We weren't, but they didn't know. They had been brainwashed just like everybody else had.
Mm-hmm. So your camp, was it on the beach, or where were your tents? I mean, where did you? I know you didn't sleep in your truck, so where would you?
Well, once we got on the beach, we our gun, we you know what a parapet looks like?
No, I don't.
Well, it'd be a circle, like about a 24-foot circle, and we took sandbags and built it up about 2 foot.
Okay.
With sandbags around it, and then our gun set in the center.
Oh, okay.
And the reason we did that, because when they fired at us, we could get behind those sandbags. And so we had a circle around us of sandbags we filled up. But the island there wasn't any trees or anything there. There was no buildings on there. It was just old black volcanic ash.
Huh.
And the island was only 2 miles wide and 4 miles long. and we landed 70,000 Marines on there.
Because it was a landing area, that's what made it so valuable, is because planes could land there?
Because it had 3 airfields on it.
Oh, okay, so that's what y'all were fighting over.
The Air Force was wanting that, they were flying a mission from Saipan, the bombers were 1,500 miles
Right.
round trip.
Right,
Well, see, Ewo was 750 miles
Right.
closer.
right,
So they could, and then if their airplanes got shot up with anti-aircraft gun, they could emergency land at Ewo.
right. So the Japanese wanted to take that away from you so that you didn't have that where our planes could come in there and be serviced. So that was what the fighting was over, was those landing strips that were there.
That's right.
Okay.
Because it was setting us up to invade Japan.
Right.
And of course, see, later on, I went on to Japan.
Okay. So after the battle of 35 days, took Iwo Jima, then were you sent by ship to Japan?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me about that.
Well, we went to Sasebo, is where we initially landed, and then from there we went to Nagasaki. Nagasaki is where they dropped the second atomic bomb.
Were you there after the bomb had been dropped, or
20 days.
20 days after? Okay, tell us about that,
Well,
if you don't mind.
the only thing I can tell you was that when you drop an atomic bomb, it flattens a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the people were, see, that atomic bomb put out a lot of radiation, and the people, they didn't know what to do to treat radiation. They had newspapers wrapped around their arms where their arms had been burnt and stuff like that. Of course, where their clothing was, it didn't get burnt, but like their face and their arms, anything that got exposed got burnt with radiation. And what we did was, one of the things we did was went around and tried to gather up the medical supplies and see that they got equally distributed. Also, we gathered up food to see that it got equally distributed. Basically, that's what we did. We took over the supply dumps and everything, food supply, because we didn't want the black market to get in there and, and start selling stuff. And so we took over that and distributed food and see the people got fed. Of course, they didn't have much to eat.
Right.
Fish and rice.
Right. So how long were you there? How long were you in Nagasaki?
Seemed like to me, I want to say about seven and a half months, something like that.
So you were there an extended period. You were there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. And the whole time you were there, it was mainly as humanitarian, you were helping with the medical and food needs.
Medical and food supplies.
Right. Because had Japan surrendered at
Yeah.
this time? Okay, so
Yeah.
Japan had surrendered, so the fighting was over.
Yeah, we didn't, when I went to Japan, we didn't have any fighting or
Right.
anything like that. The people had surrendered and that was it. And
Right.
when we went to Japan for about a week, nobody would come out on the streets because they didn't know what we were going to do.
Right. Imagine they were scared.
Those terrible Marines.
Yeah. Well, how long were you? Oh, you said you were there for about 7 months. Did you say?
It seemed like me at about 7.5 months.
Okay.
That's a long time ago. For me to remember.
You're doing very well. You're doing very well. So what happened after Nagasaki? Were you sent somewhere else, or did you get to come home, or?
think I went back to Hawaii.
Okay.
And then I came home.
Okay, so they sent you back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you sent back, were you sent back to the Big Island again? Did you go back to the
Yeah.
same place you came from on the Big Island?
Kimura.
Yeah, right. Okay, and then you were there, and then when did you get to come home?
I want to say, well, I can't exactly tell. I thought it was September 1943, but I may be wrong.
No, I think that was when you said you went into the service in 43 because you would have been 18 years old. How old were you when you came home? Do you remember? How old you were when you came back home?
21, I think.
Okay, so you were in about...
See, what I get confused is, see, I got called back in the service.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll say, okay, the war is over, and we'll say 46. You were sent back to the States.
Yeah.
Okay, you came back home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a choice. I could stay in the active reserve or I could inactive reserve. Mm-hmm. And I chose to get out. And it seemed like to me I got discharged. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, I got discharged because I chose inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Then, later on, I was going to TCU and I needed extra money and everything. In 49, I joined the reserve.
Okay.
And I got called back to Korea.
To Korea.
And I spent a year in Korea, 50 to 51.
Okay. So you went back in. Did you have to go back through boot training? Did you have to do all that again before you went back to Korea?
Did I what?
Did you have to go through boot camp again?
Uh-uh.
No, they just sent you straight over. Well, tell me about your time in Korea.
You know, they needed troops in Korea, and they called 80,000 reservists, and they picked out all of World War II retreads.
Well, they knew you knew what you're doing.
I'd been in California 2 weeks, and I was on a ship going overseas.
Well, tell me about Korea.
Well, like what?
Well, what was it like? Were you in any kind of combat situation? What was the weather like? What were your living conditions like?
Well, we lived in tents. The weather conditions were not too bad when we were in the south, but when we went up to the north, it was cold. Okay. And we suffered frostbite. I get disability because of frostbite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It got down as low as 30 below zero.
Oh, my goodness.
In North Korea. And we pulled occupation duty up there, you know, just making sure everything was run okay. And see, they didn't have any ships or transportation because we had sunk so many of them, so they took a lot of Navy vessels, our Navy vessels, and turned them over to the North Koreans so they'd have inter-island service. So, and we lived over, when I was in Nagasaki, we lived in a Mitsubishi shipyard. We took over their office buildings, and of course they just like gutted the building, and then we had canvas cots. We stood in there, and we had wall lockers, and we just stayed there. But mainly we did MP duty.
In Nagasaki?
Yeah.
Okay. MP duty. So that was just with the military then? You were the military police?
Yeah, we did. Well, I was still in the Marines, but we just put on MP when we're on duty. We just put an MP band on our arm, and we did MP duty.
Okay, so you were at police. You were the police force.
Yeah.
For the military while you were there.
Mainly, I'd say mainly what we did was we took over the food supply and the medical supply and all that stuff, and made sure it got equally distributed.
Right, right.
And tried to keep the black market down.
Right.
Because, for example, we could buy a carton of cigarettes at the PX for 50 cents, and we could sell it on the street for $20.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, it's short supply.
Yeah.
So.
Needless to say, the 6 months I was there, I didn't draw any money off of any military pay. I just lived off of cigarettes. I didn't smoke. So
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
I
So
didn't
you
get
just
my
sold yours.
ration of cigarettes and take them down and sell them, and that was my spending money. Of course, I didn't need. What are you going to buy?
Right.
You know,
There wasn't anything there.
not anything to buy. And you know, of course, they did a lot of gambling over, playing poker and stuff like that. And I know one kid named Brooksy, he won a whole lot of money, and they would only let you, you had to go down to the post office, and like, if you drew $100 off your payroll check, then you could mail $100, what do you call it?
Money order?
Postal order home. You could mail $100 home, but you couldn't go down there and mail $10,000 home when you're drawing $50 a month. You know, that kept the black market down. And then another thing they did there, that in order to keep the black market down, they would go in every so often and take everybody's money away from them and stamp it. And the money that wasn't stamped, you couldn't use.
That was smart.
Yeah, like, you know, if you was a family or something like that, you had 10,000 yen, well, they might authorize you to keep 5,000 of it, and you know, and they would stamp it so you could use it.
Right.
But otherwise, that was to keep the black market down.
Right. Well, that was smart. When you came back before you went to Korea, when you came back from Hawaii or Japan, when you came back to the United States, was it hard to adjust back to civilian life?
No.
You just kind of fell right into it?
Yeah. I can't remember much about it, but I didn't have any problem.
Right. When you came back, where did you come back to? Did you come back to San Francisco or New York?
San Diego.
San Diego. Okay.
I was hoping to come back to Frisco because I wanted to see Frisco. But every time I went out of San Diego and came back to San Diego.
Then did you get on a train to come back home?
I went part of the way by train and part of the way by bus. I can't remember. I had a train ticket, but somehow I missed connections or something in El Paso, and so I could go get a bus right away, and I was going to have to wait a few hours to get another train, so I just went down and cashed my ticket in and come the rest of the way by bus.
You were ready to get home.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you got here, was your family waiting for you?
Yeah.
When you got back?
Of course, I wasn't married.
Right, your mom and your dad?
Just my mom and dad.
Yeah. I bet they were happy to see you.
I was the only child, so.
Yeah, they were happy for you to be home.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good. When you got back to the United States, you said you went into inactive reserves.
I went to what?
Inactive reserves?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a choice. I could be active or inactive.
Inactive, right. What did you do? What job did you have after you got back?
Well, you mean civilian job?
Civilian job. Did you go back to work at the grocery store?
No.
No.
I went to work well then it was Consolidated. It's Lockheed Martin now.
Oh.
Went to work in aircraft.
Okay, what did you do?
I was an assembler.
Okay.
That's what I did when I went back, and later on I went into planning. I was what they call a tool and operation planner.
Oh, okay.
In other words, what I did, I got the engineering blueprints, and I sat down and wrote the planning of how to make the parts and how to put them together.
Oh, goodness. That was an important job.
Yeah.
That was. When you were in the military, did you make any really good friends while you were in there, or was it just kind of you saw them and then everyone moved on to different places?
No, I made some good friends. I had a good friend in California, and I had some good friends in Chicago that lived in Chicago. I had some good friends that lived in Boston. Most of our unit was from the East Coast. They came they were at Quantico, Virginia, and they came from Quantico out to California.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I'd say most of my unit was from the East Coast.
Was there any one person, maybe a sergeant or someone over you or a drill instructor, anything that really made an impression on you when you were in the military?
That did what?
Really made an impression on you?
Well, yeah, that something made an impression on me, but no, I won't say particularly good impression.
Well, but they made an impression. You remember them?
They made an impression on me.
Oh. When you went into the military, was it hard for you to adjust to that life?
No.
You were pretty regimented before you went in.
I didn't have any problem.
You didn't have any problem with that. Well, that's good. When you got back after World War II and Nagasaki and you came back, do you think that the people here in the United States really knew what it was like over there? Do you think the news coverage and all of that was really accurate?
No.
Do you think it was worse than what we knew?
I went down and talked to the American Legion, and I went down and talked to somebody else. I can't remember the other group. But I went down and talked to them and kind of tell them what it was a little like. Mm-hmm. And you know, the thing about it is, a lot of people don't know this, but like Korea and World War II were a little bit different. Because, for example, in World War II, most everybody was drafted. Mm-hmm. But in Korea, you had a lot of regulars that were in. And in fact, like for example, we had people in that were sergeants that had been captains in World War II in Korea.
Okay.
And you know they wanted to stay in, so they took a bus back to Master Sergeant and stayed in.
Okay.
But I just had a high school education, and I figured I wasn't going anywhere, and so I had to just stay.
Right, right. Do you think your time in the military helped you in your life, in later life?
Oh, yeah.
How do you think it helped? What did it help teach you?
Well, it taught me discipline, it taught me how to follow instructions, orders, and it taught me how to organize a little bit, and it just made me a little more independent.
There you go. Well, that's good.
In other words, of course you have no way of knowing this, but you know, the Marines kind of brainwash you that, hey, you can handle anything that comes up. There ain't nothing coming up that you can't handle. And that carries over into your civilian life.
Well, that's a good way to feel.
You know, my boss, they asked him one time, said, what about Stewart? What kind of a guy is he? This is another boss that I was going to go to work for. He said, well, let me tell you something. He's not the smartest man that you've ever probably worked for, but he's the most versatile. You can send Stewart anywhere and he can handle the job. I don't care what it is, he will handle the job. That's all I had.
That's a fine quality to have.
Yeah.
You're dependable. They can count on you.
Because when I worked at, worked in aircraft, hell, I worked everywhere.
Right.
I worked in the transmission shop. I worked in the engine build-up shop. I worked in when they put the aircrafts, the helicopters together. Of course, I worked at Bell Helicopter. But prior to that, I worked at General Dynamics on the old B-36 and B-58. So, you know, I had worked here. You know, they'd send me out to final assembly or out to flight line. It didn't make any difference. Whatever needed to be done, they'd send me out there.
Well, that's good.
I worked the transmissions. I worked the hubs and main rotor hubs and tail rotor hubs and stuff like that. Those areas. Of course, what I did, I was a tooling troubleshooter. And if they had any problem putting anything together, then it was up to me to straighten it out. In other words, if it was planning, then I got the planning changed. If it was engineering, I got the engineering changed. If it was shop, I got the tool changed. I wrote the tool orders, got them changed. Whatever needed to be done to keep things moving, that's what I did.
You were the go-to man. They could go to you if they needed something done.
That's right.
Well, that's very commendable.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Well, Robert, I thank you so much for allowing us to do this interview. And is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would like to discuss, to leave for people that are going to see this, your family, or whoever may look at this interview in the future?
I can't think of anything.
Well, I want to thank you for your service. This is something that is so commendable, and I don't think we ever say it enough that we thank our veterans for what they did for our country and what they gave up and were willing to do. We are working with the Library of Congress for the Veterans History Project, and the Library of Congress has created a pin that only veterans who have given their interviews can have that pin. So that is for you, and if you ever see anyone wearing that, then they've given their interview too. And
you know, the only thing that I wondered about, and I wrote them, but they didn't do anything about it. I said, in order to get a good conduct medal, you have to have 3 years continuous service. Well, I had my service was 30 months, and then I had 12 months. They don't put that together.
Huh.
So I didn't ever get a good conduct.
Well, you certainly deserved one. Well, that doesn't sound right.
Never did get a good conduct medal. because I didn't have 3 years continuous service. I had 30 months and then 12.
Well,
Of course, I was in field artillery, and you know, and I was in World War II. I was on the guns. In Korea, I was in the Firebreaker Center. Excuse me.
that's okay. We have some Kleenex there if you need one.
I directed
Bless you.
fire for 18 guns. That's what I did.
Goodness.
Our guns would fire 9 miles.
That's a long way.
Yep.
That's a long way. Well, Robert, we also have, Mary Asham Keith would like to present you with this certificate of appreciation for giving your interview today. And again, I want to thank you for your service and for your willingness to stand between the United States and her enemies. And we certainly appreciate all that you did for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.